Hello, everyone, and welcome back to English Passage Podcast, where we don't just learn English in a mechanical way, but we slowly and naturally build the ability to express our real thoughts, our real emotions, and our real personality through conversations that actually sound human and meaningful. And today, we are exploring something very simple, but at the same time, very deep. The art of saying thank you in English.
Yes, and I love this topic because it's something we all use every day, but very few people actually use it effectively or emotionally. Have you ever said thank you, and then immediately after saying it, you felt like, that didn't really express what I was feeling?
Exactly. And sometimes, in that moment, your heart is full of gratitude, but your sentence is too short, and it just ends before your emotion is fully delivered.
And that's where the difference comes in. Not between beginners and advanced learners, but between people who translate English and people who actually feel it.
Arav, let me tell you something very real, something that happened to me recently. And I think many of our listeners will connect with this instantly because it's such a common workplace situation. It was late evening. The office was almost empty. The lights were still on above my desk, and I was sitting there staring at my screen, feeling slightly overwhelmed because my deadline was getting closer and closer. And the interesting part is, I didn't ask for help.
Why didn't you ask? Were you hesitant or just trying to manage it yourself?
A little bit of both, honestly. Sometimes we don't want to bother others, and sometimes we think we should handle things alone. But then something unexpected happened. Someone noticed me.
That already changes the emotional tone of the situation.
Yes. They walked over, sat beside me, and without asking too many questions, they simply said, "Let's do this together."
That's such a powerful moment, because help that comes without asking feels different.
Exactly. And we worked together, step by step, solving problems, correcting mistakes, until finally, everything was done. And then came that moment. I looked at them and said, "Thank you." But inside, I felt that it was not enough.
And that's where most people stop. But that's exactly where they should continue.
Yes. So I paused, went back to them and said, "I really appreciate your support today because honestly, I couldn't have finished this without you." And instantly, the connection changed.
That's not just English, that's emotional intelligence in language.
Now let's shift the environment completely. Because when we move from a structured space like an office into the relaxed, emotionally open space of friendships, the way we express gratitude changes not just slightly, but dramatically in tone, energy, and even personality.
Oh, absolutely. And I think this is where English becomes really fun. Because with friends, you're not thinking about correctness or formality. You're just reacting naturally. For example, if a friend helps me at the last moment, especially in a stressful situation, I might say something like, "You are seriously a lifesaver. I honestly don't know what I would have done without you today." And even while saying it, I can feel that I'm exaggerating slightly, but it still feels real.
That's so true. And what makes it powerful is not the exact words, but the emotion behind them. Because even if it's exaggerated, it still carries genuine appreciation.
And sometimes, when I'm in a really playful mood, I go even further and say, "That's it. From today onwards, I owe you my entire life." And even though we both know it's not literal, it creates that shared laughter and connection.
And I think that's such an important point. Because with friends, gratitude is not about being accurate. It's about being expressive, and sometimes even dramatic in a fun way.
Exactly. And sometimes, even a simple sentence like, "You're the best, seriously," said with the right tone, can feel much stronger than a formal "thank you."
Yes, and I've noticed that even adding small emotional phrases like, "I really needed that," or "that helped me so much," makes the gratitude feel more personal and real.
And the key idea here is, don't be afraid to sound emotional with friends, because that's what makes your English feel natural and alive.
Now let's bring this into a very common daily life situation where you are interacting with someone you don't know personally, like in a store, a cafe, or even a customer support call. Imagine this clearly. You walk into a store, you are confused about a product, and you start asking questions, maybe even repeating some of them because you're unsure.
And the other person doesn't rush you? They stay patient. They explain everything slowly, and they make sure you understand.
Exactly. And in that moment, if you just say, "Thanks," quickly and leave, it feels slightly incomplete, almost like you didn't fully recognize their effort.
So instead, you can slow down your sentence and say, "Thank you for taking the time to explain everything so clearly. I really appreciate your help today." And notice how that sentence naturally flows.
Yes, and what's interesting is that you are not just saying thank you. You are acknowledging their time, their patience, and their effort all in one sentence.
And that small change can completely change how the interaction feels for both people.
And if you want to go even deeper, you could say, "I really appreciate how patiently you explained everything. It made things much easier for me," which adds even more warmth.
And this is especially useful in real life, because these are the moments where small language improvements create big social impact.
Now, let's step into a professional environment, especially emails and workplace communication, where your choice of words can actually influence how people perceive your professionalism and attitude.
Yes, and this is where many learners struggle, because they either sound too simple or too formal, but not natural. For example, writing just "thanks" in a professional email can sometimes feel too short, and in certain situations, it may even appear slightly careless.
So instead, you can expand your sentence in a natural way and say, "Thank you for your time and consideration. I truly appreciate the opportunity to connect with you and discuss this matter further."
That sounds balanced. Not too formal, not too casual, just professional and natural.
And if you want to express deeper gratitude, especially after support or guidance, you can say, "I sincerely appreciate your support and guidance throughout this process, and it has been extremely helpful for me."
And what I like about that sentence is that it clearly explains why you are thankful, which makes it more meaningful.
Exactly. And that's the key difference between basic English and effective communication. Now let's slow everything down for a moment. Imagine you were having a difficult day, not just busy, but emotionally heavy, and you don't really want advice, you just want someone to listen.
And someone sits with you, quietly, patiently, not interrupting, not judging, just being there.
And in that moment, when you finally speak, your words come slowly, and you say, "Thank you for being there for me. It really means more than I can express right now."
And that is where language goes beyond vocabulary, beyond grammar, and becomes pure human connection.
Yes. And in those moments, even simple English becomes powerful because it carries real emotion.
And that's what we want our listeners to understand. Not just what to say, but how to feel it while saying it.
Before we end today's episode, I want to share one simple idea that can make a big difference in your English, especially in how natural and meaningful you sound when you speak. Most learners stop their sentence at just "thank you," and while that is polite, it often feels incomplete.
So you're saying that "thank you" should not be the end of the sentence, but actually the beginning of something more.
Exactly. Because when you add just one more line, you bring your real feeling into the sentence.
For example, instead of saying "thank you," you can say, "Thank you for helping me today. I really appreciate it."
And immediately, the sentence feels more natural and more human.
Because now you are not just being polite, you are being clear and expressive.
So remember this simple rule. Say thank you, and then add a reason.
That small habit can completely change your communication.
What do you think about this topic?
How do you usually say "thank you" in your daily life?
And next time you use it, try adding one more sentence and notice the difference.
Share your examples with us in the comments. We would love to see how you express your gratitude.
And don't forget to subscribe to English Passage Podcast for more natural English conversations.